So Rachel, 3 weeks ago today you walked out on Ace Racecourse and headed for Dublin Airport to go to Cheltenham. You couldn't have known what was going to happen, but how did you feel?
Excited, I think. Delighted that I was walking out of Ace Racecourse and heading for the plane. Those last few days you kind of just want to get over to Cheltenham and get going. Looking forward to getting over there on Monday morning, riding out, walking the tracks, getting, finally Cheltenham has arrived, so I was excited.
Nerves, anticipation? I mean, you'd Honeysuckle, Bob Ollinger, you'd loads of big rides, at Plutar, pressure. Was that just parked, or did you feel it?
I think I'd been feeling it in the build-up, but Monday when it actually came, I was just delighted that it was upon us and we could finally stop talking about all these races and actually let them happen and then talk about them after.
Look, you're obviously always in the ladies' changing rooms. You're not in a big environment anyway, but such a quiet wear room, such an empty place. Did it ease the pressure? Did it add to the anticipation? There's no chatter, no excitement. It's just all about what's happening. Was that easier or harder?
Definitely, it was much different. Even walking from where we were staying into the weigh room, you didn't get stopped by a couple of different people asking you things about the day. You were able to have a direct line into the changing room, so that probably took away a bit of the hype that's usually there in the build up to the Supreme Novices. So it probably did make it a bit easier from a jockey's perspective not to get too wrapped up in it all.
Obviously then you rode in the Supreme, or I think you rode in the Supreme, I can't remember, I was watching Appreciate It. Captain Guinness in the Arkle probably didn't go to plan. Are you thinking, is this going to be one of those weeks?
Yeah, do you know what? I don't think there's even time to think about that. It's so bang, bang, bang that Captain Guinness definitely didn't go to plan, but Honeysuckle was always in the back of my mind for Tuesday as one that I really need to be on the ball for. So I was trying not to let Captain Guinness half run away at me around there, get to me too much.
I know that, but it did happen. Do you think you were always able to park one bad result before you went out for something big like Honeysuckle?
Was I always able to do that? Probably not, no, because you kind of learn, when the more defeat you have, the more you learn to deal with it, I suppose. And defeat on the biggest stage, I've had plenty of it the year before, so in Cheltenham. So look, I don't really know. I just know I was thinking about the next one. I was trying not to dwell on what just happened, because that can't be changed, unfortunately.
No, I think that's an evolution of your relationship with Henry as well, that you're able to, he trained them both, that you're both able to park it and move on, that you're almost as a team. That's history, it's now the future.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Henry's a very good trainer, but he's good to deal with me as well, I think, in that he knew when I came back in after Captain Guinness, whatever he really thought about it, there was no point in, letting it out then. That might hinder my performances later in the day. So, I still haven't heard what he thinks about that ride, actually, but he probably doesn't care at this stage.
No, not that it matters, but he still almost stood behind you and gave you the confidence to go and focus on Honeysuckle. I know you're a competitor.
Yeah.
I know there's no way you were happy with what happened with Captain Guinness, so somebody had to back you up to make you move forward. Yeah,
and that's part of being a very good trainer, I think. It's one thing dealing with your horses, but being able to deal with your jockey and your owners and not upset that, in motion on a day like the Tuesday of Cheltenham.
So you get to the start on Honeysuckle an hour later, and plenty of pace going to be on. You lined her up pretty much where everyone thought you would. Were you always happy with how the race was going? Were you happy with her, happy with where you were?
I really was. I was always happy when Goshen kind of disappeared and came back in. That was my only moment of, please don't get in my way. I thought he was out of the picture when he drifted off right, but he did come back in again. But she was relaxed, she was jumping, like I was happy, very happy.
And when she pinged the last, I can remember how long it felt from the back of the last to the winning post on certain horses in different races. When she jumped the last and you were there, did the winning post seem further away? Did it seem like it would never come, or did it just happen in a flash?
happened in a flash, yeah. I think I landed, took a couple of strides, had a little look up at the big screen, and then I kind of knew, like, you know, it was the first time I let myself believe, you know, this is actually going to happen, you know what I mean? So then you just want the line to come so that, you know, nothing untoward happens in those strides. But yeah, I knew nothing was going to get to me. You know, she was all under me, you know, after the last. It's a fantastic feeling.
Did your heart start racing?
It did, yes.
I started to pump and beat, but she wins, and it's incredible, and it's Cheltenham, so there's always tomorrow. You just have to keep moving on. Then you had Bob Ollinger, tactical sort of a race, but he's some racehorse. He
is some racehorse, yeah. He has quite the engine under him, and you know, you can say different things about the tactics and whatnot, but when you have something under you that you know will move into a gap, or will, you know, he's such a straightforward ride. He'll come out of a gap for you. It won't light him up. It won't, you know, dull him down. He's so straightforward to ride. So when you're on something like that you know has his engine, like, it's, you know, in a 7-horse race, it's a fantastic position to be in. It was a kind of a messy race now, but for only the 7 of us. But yeah, he is a fair racehorse.
3 was Sir Gerhard. Just line up and make the running. Why not? Did you think you'd be able to do what you did? Did you ever think at halfway thinking, this is going too simple, this is just too easy?
Yeah, you know, watching previous champion bumpers, I kind of couldn't believe that I was, you know, in front on my own for the whole thing nearly. But look, I had heard a lot about the horse prior to the race, you know, had watched him perform, and, you know, I knew he was extremely talented, and yeah, it was great that it worked.
4 was Allaho, and you're going toe to toe with Min over the first 3 fences, and as you turn downhill into the home straight, are you thinking, will Paul ever leave me alone? Do I pull back? What's crossing your mind there tactically? You're 6'8" in front of the rest of the field, you're going hammer and tongs. Are you thinking, I'm going to get the better of him to the next fence, or what was your thought process?
Well, as you know, I rang you before the race, and you'd kind of, you know, told me, just don't be pulling out of him. So, you know, I kind of just allowed him to gallop and jump, and yeah, I always felt like I was that little bit ahead of Paul jumping wise. You know, I never felt pressure by him, and it was just lovely to be able to allow the horse to gallop and to jump, and even better when he didn't calve halfway up the hill.
Didn't stop, yeah, so that was a big help. 5 was Tell Me Something Girl, and that was completely different. You get to the start, take your time and ride a completely different race. Was that your own plan? Was it definitely not Henry's plan to be that far back? How did you think, like, this is the right thing to do?
Yeah, I think Henry's changing a little bit maybe. He's kind of more, he is getting more happy with horses being dropped in a bit. You know, watching previous winners of that race, they're nearly always come from behind. So, and she's quite keen. She was keen with me in Leopardstown. I had her in the kind of middle of the bunch that day, so I kind of knew we weren't going to make the running anyway. So it was either, you know, drop out and properly give her a chance to relax. You know, riding her in the middle of the bunch wasn't going to work. So we did that. She relaxed beautifully, jumped really well, and you know, it's very straightforward when they're, you know, she powered up the hill. You know, she was actually one of the hardest ones I had to pull up. So like when you're on something like that, it just makes it easier to try and, you know, weave your way through, I suppose.
I know from riding them there, you jump the second last and there's a load of them in front of you and they're gone, but you're thinking, I'm going to get these. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, like I gave her a slap down the shoulder, squeezed her up a bit, and all of a sudden felt I had loads under me. And you know, when you turn that bend, it can fan out a bit. And yeah, I did feel like I'm gonna win this. Like, even though there was still 3 horses in front of me, I had that feeling. Like, it's kind of mad to think of it really, but yeah, it was brilliant.
And your last winner was Quilixius in the Triumph, a bit like Allaho. You'd never ridden him in a race before. It was pretty straightforward, but again, you were tactical on him. You got to control it. You didn't go too soon. What was in your head all the way down the hill? Keep waiting, keep waiting, keep waiting? Or what were you thinking?
Yeah, like, you know, we'd only, the horse had only arrived 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, so, we didn't know a lot about him. I'd never ridden him, so, I was learning off people who'd ridden him before, spoken to them, but essentially you're just kind of riding the horse that you're on the day, and I don't know, it felt like the right thing to do, just to ride what I was on, and there wasn't a massive amount of, not that there wasn't a massive amount of thought gone into it, but it just felt like the right thing to do. We knew he was very good and that he'd pick up at the bottom of the hill, and he did. So
obviously not everything went to plan. You had 6 winners, but I watched you in the Kimure, which was your last fall of the week, your 4th fall, when Plan of Attack fell at the 3rd last. And when you hit the ground, you didn't roll like you always roll. You almost froze. And I was watching it with David Casey, and we were watching. That hurt. I knew the way you hit the ground, it hurt. So what are you thinking? I've Friday ahead of me, get off the ground. Do you ever think, why do we have to get these falls?
Yeah, look, I took too many falls, in that week as well. 2 of them I fell off now, so it's just...
That happens. You're going to get falls. If you're riding to win, you're always riding on the edge. So that's going to happen. But when you're rolling over on him, you're thinking, why? Yeah,
like that, I did hit the ground there, and that did hurt, but when I got to my feet, I knew I was okay. I knew I was okay, but it's it's frustrating because I knew he still had his chance. So yeah, look, it's just frustrating. You don't want to be hitting the ground.
No. And I suppose the only one that went against you was the Gold Cup, and I've been in that boat, picked the wrong one, the Gold Cup. Between the last 2, was it a sinking feeling, or are you still not giving up?
No, I still wasn't giving up. Manila Indo edged slightly right down to the last and just took my stride that I might have been able to get out of him from me. Landed after the last, and I just always felt like, even though I was getting there, I was only pushing him along. But you aren't giving up, because I saw what happened on. I was part of Manila Indo Champ in Allaho there last year, so things can change dramatically from the back of the last. But I just always felt like I was pushing him forward.
When you crossed the line, what was that feeling? I know what it felt like for me. I crossed the line looking at them, man.
Sure. It was a brilliant week. A week I never thought I'd ever have, but that was the Gold Cup, and I had the choice of the 2 horses, picked the wrong one. I don't know if there's a word in the dictionary to describe that feeling. It's just hard, it is hard, but
it's amazing how deflating something can be so quickly. That's what I felt. I'd had an incredible week. Just how one result can just...
Yeah, and like even... and this is just on a personal level, it's fantastic for the yard, delighted for the Maloneys. It's a local connection in Tipperary, it's brilliant, but, even flicking through the papers afterwards, looking back at the we'll say the papers that were that week or whatever, flicking through them, and seeing like Manila Indo Gold Cup picture, like it gets you every time. You're like, damn it,
And the replay will get you every time as well.
It will,
and it'll never change.
And that's, but look, that's just the way it is, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. That is the way it is. So you left Ireland to go to Cheltenham. Rachael Blackmore, well-known jockey. You came home one of the most recognisable names in Irish sport. Has dealing with the countless media interviews, requests to do God knows what else. I'm probably the 50th person that has looked for a half an hour of your time. How are you finding that? How are you finding being the new Rachael Blackmore?
Different, I suppose. I actually don't know how to answer that, because I don't know how I'm feeling.
I know you're not, but do you find it tiresome? Do you think, no problem, I'll do that? I'm lucky, but I wish I could do it all at once.
Yeah, do you know what I'm thinking is, it's a constant wheel, I suppose, and Cheltenham is a bit different, we'll say, in that, we'll say with the honeysuckle story, winning the Irish Champion hurdle in Leopardstown, unbelievable, but at the same time, it's just one step closer to what the ultimate is. And, you know, she's done the ultimate now, which is a massive relief and, you know, brings about massive joy. But I suppose racing is just constantly turning, and, you know, we just spoke a minute ago there about Aintree, you know, that's coming up, and then, you know, we've got Fairyhouse before that and Punchestown, and there's never really a moment to, you know, there's never an off-season downtime to kind of look back and, you know, take in all your interviews, and, you know, I don't think that happens till you can, you know, retire.
I don't even know if you can do it then, but racing doesn't allow you to, and I'm not expecting you to give me an honest answer, because you can never say, racing doesn't allow you to big yourself up. But when you came home on Friday night, yourself and Brian, and you went back to Bagnallstown, did you walk in home and think, wow, what have I achieved?
Yeah, like it hit me, you know, when I came home, and, you know, I suppose when I was in Cheltenham for the 4 days, I wasn't allowing myself to get wrapped up in what was going on at home, or the, you know, the media coverage. As you say, you know, Tuesday was great, but there's Wednesday, and then there's Thursday, and then there's the Gold Cup on Friday. So, and everyone has a different expectation for those days. So you're trying not to get wrapped up with what's going on. But definitely when I came home on Saturday, I you know, it did hit me. You know, this is pretty big. Like, even though it was massive for me personally, but I really did get a sense that it was big for a lot of people, not just me.
It's big for the sport. But if we go back, way back with you, so your dad's a dairy farmer, so work, you always knew what work was. Dairy farmers just never stop working.
That's
but
true.
You rode ponies, your parents hunted. Why horse racing? Why not eventing, show jumping, something else? Why race horses?
I did all the normal pony club things, but I played pony club games, which was all about speed, teams of 4, you know, quite competitive. Like, I really enjoyed that. Quite
competitive. You stand in the RTÉ and watch it. It's lunacy on ponies.
Yeah, like I loved that. I loved playing pony club games. Like, I did a bit of eventing in my teenage years. You know, cross country was the thing that I loved more than the other two. I just always loved that side of it. You know, well, I had a very good 12-2 pony, Bubbles, that I used to hunt, and she was, you know, extremely keen and strong, but I think she made me kind of enjoy that side of it, you know.
So you were the one at the front taking on the master? Yeah,
that was me. Like, you know, we actually had to bring her before she'd go hunting. She had to get brought to a gallop, Aidan Kennedy's gallop, our neighbour's gallop, and, you know, she used to do a few rounds of the sand before we went hunting, you know, to try and knock the edge off her. That's the kind of pony she was. But she was, you know, extremely safe in that she was very good to jump, and, you know, I just couldn't hold her, but she was just very, very good at what she was doing, you know, so you're always safe on her. But yeah, you know, maybe that kind of encouraged me to have a bit of a taste of what it was like, you know, to be jumping and going fast.
So speed was your addiction, obviously. So you finished school and you're riding as an amateur. Did you go to university as a safety net because you didn't really believe you could make it as a jockey?
Yeah, I was always going to go to college. You know, I always wanted to be a jockey and ride, but it was always going to be in line with going to college. And like, I had a great time in college and everything. But I think it was definitely psychologically an easier safety net for my own brain, as opposed to finishing school and then announcing to everyone I'm going to try be an amateur jockey. You know, they would have been like, what are you doing? So I think, yeah, college was a no-brainer, you know, and, you know, I rode as an amateur all throughout those years. It was only when college was finished that, you know, real life kind of set in, and that's when, you know, turning professional was given a go.
So you went to UL and you did a business degree somewhere else, in Dublin, I think, was it?
Yeah, I went to UCD first of all, did 2 years of science, kept failing maths, went down to UL.
How did you fail maths when you can get fractions so right in a horse race?
So bad at maths, very poor. I'm actually bad at everything, bad at spelling as well, bad at reading. I'm just not a great student.
See, you went to university, but you say you went, but yet you still believe yourself you were struggling at it, but you still kept at it. You were in
Yeah.
UCD, you were in UL. Where else did you go?
Yeah, I did UCD, failed my maths up there, so I had to divert down to equine science in Limerick. Did a business diploma in Griffith College, but they were all, you know, in conjunction with riding as an amateur, I suppose.
So then you said you got a ride, you rode a winner for the Shark Cannon, and Shark was instrumental in your career, in your decision to turn professional.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read you said you had nothing to lose and that's why you turned. I'm not sure I agree with that. Everybody has something to lose. You were willing to chance it because you surely thought, I can do this.
No, I genuinely didn't have anything to lose. I don't know.
You were 25, you said nothing to lose. You were 25, what were you going to do? Try it for 3 years?
I was 25. It was either, you know, I was finished college eventually after trying every different college in the country and course, and finally had some kind of qualification. So that was done, and it was, you know, it was time to get a job now. You know, my riding as an amateur wasn't a career. It wasn't a, you know, wasn't going to fulfill anything. So it was kind of either do that or, you know, go down a different avenue completely.
And when you turned, what were your expectations? What were your hopes? Just turn a living?
My expectation genuinely was to lose my £7 claim. You know, I thought if I could achieve that, that would be something that I would never have achieved if I was to stay as an amateur. You know, extremely hard to write out your claim or any part of your claim as an amateur. You know, you've one race a day and whatnot. So, you know, I thought if I write out my £7 claim, that'll be a success, you know. That
was your ambition, was just to lose your claim. And I suppose everyone has a moment where they get their chance or get an opportunity. I know I got lucky as a young fella when Willie Mullins couldn't do the weight in a mare called Young Fenora, and I ended up riding a winner for him in Leopardstown. And it had a huge impact on the rest of my life. When you turned professional, what was the moment that you got your chance and the ball bounced?
I suppose there was little ones along the way. One kind of early one that, I don't know, maybe it's in my own head that it impacted things, but I remember riding one of the Adair Manor opportunity races around Leopardstown. It was a chase winner, a horse called Mr. Goodenough, for John Robinson, and I remember winning that, and I just remember getting kind of a bit of feedback from people, you know, that was positive, and it was, you know, it was a good race to win, and maybe people had noticed me a bit then. So that was one thing early on, I think, that helped. And then obviously my, you know, getting my foot in the door with Henry has changed my career completely.
Do you feel because you're gender, you had to work harder?
I don't know. I had to work anyway, but I think everyone does. I think regardless of your gender, you know, you do have to work very hard. Some guys, it comes easier to them, some people it doesn't. So I can't say specifically because my gender I had to work harder, but I do. Jockeys in general, some just do have to work harder than others, you know.
Do you think being a dairy farmer's daughter, that was a good tuition in work?
Yeah, but like it doesn't feel like work really, you know what I mean? Like it was never a big effort to get up in the morning and go. It wasn't like I have to work hard today now and get this done. It just, you're happy to do it, you're riding out, you're happy, it's something you enjoy doing. So, you know, it never felt like massive work, you know. If you put me in a factory 9 to 5, that might feel like work, you know.
I know exactly what you mean. So then you ride that winner in Leopardstown, but where does the improvement come from? I was lucky, I always had my dad telling me, do this, do that, do the other. Who tutored you, or did you just tutor yourself? How did you come from that girl that was riding with a £7 claim to the tactical person you are now?
I definitely think it's riding is a massive help. You know, people talk about trying to get better and improve, but like I'd ridden in, you know, just under 200 points, we'll say, before I turned. So I had a lot of pointing done, but to ride, like I spent a whole summer without riding a winner as a conditional rider, but I was riding like, you know, 1 or 2 rides every day, and I was in races with other people like you, like Davy Russell, you know, you're race riding. And I think practice is the only thing that's going to improve you as a jockey. It's what you need to do to get better. You need to ride more finishes. You know, like the more finishes I rode, the better I seemed to be able to keep a horse in balance and those kind of things, you know. It comes a lot more naturally to some people, but I definitely think practice was a big thing for me.
It's 2021, everyone's in a rush. You said you spent the whole summer there, not riding a winner. Where did you, I know you were 25, but where did you find the resolve to keep going? Not everybody has that determination.
Yeah, do you know what? People often said to me at the time, you know, oh, you haven't ridden a winner yet now, and whatever, but like I was racing every week, you know. I was after having a heap of seconds on a mare called Personal Shopper. Harry Smith kept on putting me back up, you know, those kind of things. Like there was never a moment when I felt, oh, maybe this was the wrong thing to do. You know, I know from my 5 years previous as an amateur that winners are so hard to come by, but at least now I was riding more, you know, and there was a HRI account and there was money in that, and you know, I was able to, like, you're holding on to that hope that the winner will come, you know what I mean? I think if you can't panic anyway in racing in general, I think, about things not happening quick enough.
Rachel, I watched Katie riding and my sister-in-law Nina Carberry and countless other ladies riding, and I always winced when I saw them falling, and I probably winced when I watched you getting slapped off the ground. But you bounce incredible. At times I wish I could have bounced like you. How do you take the falls?
That's a hard question.
I know that, but you still have to get back up. And part of being a jockey is you're going to ride losers and you're going to get falls. That's the only certainty with being a jockey. The falls don't seem to faze you, don't seem to frighten you, don't seem to bother you. Where does that steel come from?
I don't know. I just hope they continue to not faze me and not impact me. You know, you can be very lucky in the way that you fall and the way a horse behind you avoids you, and you know, you need a lot of luck, and I just hope it stays like that.
And now you're, just no other way of putting it, you're at the top. Are you looking forward to trying to stay there?
No.
Why not?
Because
when you're at the top, you can only get knocked down?
Maybe, yeah. Like, you know, you hear all these nice things being said about you, but then in the back of your mind, you're just kind of thinking, Jesus, like, I hope I can actually keep proving those things correct, if you get me.
I do. You haven't accepted it, so you're still chasing it. So that's probably the best way to stand there.
Maybe so.